Welcome to this meeting of the Wigtown Area Committee, 6th of March 2024. I would let you know at this point that this area committee meeting will be live streamed on Teams and that a recording will be available online shortly after the finish of the meeting. Members may notice that when calling members to speak, I will refer to them formally and using their title, example, Councillor Smith. Don't think we've got a Councillor Smith, but so it is clear who are councillors and who, by the process of elimination, are officers. Remote participants, please follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting. Sorry.
Seems to be an issue with those online being able to hear us.
All right. Can anyone online hear us?
No.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Vlad can hear us. Okay. So, muting microphones and switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting. Writing speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. If you're in the hall, you can do this on your iPhone or iPad. Please don't repeat contributions already made by other members. No material should be posted in the chat function if it is intended as part of the discussion. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting, please either leave the Teams meeting for that period of time or write leave in the Teams chat function and then join when you rejoin the meeting so that we can keep track on whether the meeting is quorate. All members should speak clearly, taking their time and speaking directly into the microphone when making contributions. When referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Please focus contributions on areas where clarification is required or to propose an alternative to a recommendation. We'll move on to the Cedrant and apologies.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We've got all 8 Wigtown Area Committee members present this morning, 6 here at Newton Stewart, 2 on Teams, being Councillors Juicy and McCammon. Youth councillors, we've got Matt Hewan here with us at Newton Stewart, and we also have Adrian Dargy attempting to join on Teams, but hopefully will be with us shortly.
Thank you, Claire. Welcome Max and Adrian to the meeting. And I give my approval for remote participation. Declarations of interest to members of any statement of connection or declaration of interest to declare based on the definition. Statement of connection for transparency reasons, members may wish to make a public statement. Declaration of interests, members would now require to leave the meeting for that item. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Hill.
Just a statement of connection on item 7 because one of the directors for Newton Stewart Initiative and it talks about the play park. Excuse me, but I don't feel any need to leave the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor.
Item 10, Chair, and it's really just a monitoring report on page 99, a connection with or had a connection with the Scottish Week, but as it's only a monitor, I don't see any purpose or reason for leaving.
Thanks, Councillor Scobie. And like Councillor Hill, I'll declare a connection on item 7, being Chair of Newton Stewart Initiative. Okay, minutes of the previous meeting at item 3. Members were asked to note these minutes. Are we happy to note the minute of the previous meeting? Thank you. Yep. Moving on to item 4, Scottish Fire and Rescue Service Wigtownshire Area Performance Report, 1st of April 2023 to the 30th of September 2023. Report by Head of Governance and Assurance. Our first report is the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service Wigtownshire Area Performance Report, covering April 2023 to September 2023. I'm pleased to note that Fire and Rescue continue to disaggregate data and produce a report specific to Wigtown Area Committee, along with region-wide reporting. That's appreciated. It's also good to see comparators with other areas and wards. I'm sure members will also be keen to see that staffing ratios are improving, with an increased staffing at Wigtown and Ramore, and Newton Stewart having a full staffing complement, and Stranraer close to full, awaiting one appointment which is in progress. It's good to see that accidental dwelling fires have reduced in consequent injury and loss of life through proactive work with partners to protect vulnerable individuals. It is, however, a bit concerning to see that fire setting has increased, and it would be good to hear a wee bit more about preventative measures being taken. For example, upstream work with schools and the fire cadets. John Harvey and Tony Reid from the Scottish Fire and Rescue are in attendance to answer any questions from members, so I'll open the floor to members' questions and comments. Councillor Hill.
Hi, thank you, and thank you for the really great report. Lots of good things going on. Wanted to say, page 20, it's good to hear that you're working closely with partners to address fire safety and antisocial behaviour. So that was really positive that, you know, you've got that really good collaborative working. And on page 21, I just wanted to commend you at 3.7 on the event that was at Castle Kennedy. I attended that. It was really well attended and it was really good fun to be at. Lots of positive information given there. Can I ask on page 22 at 3.8, I know we discussed it at the last area committee about the work that you were doing with primary 7 pupils. It was just to see that if all of the primary 7s across the whole of Wigtownshire had been involved in that engagement. And then just to say really positive on all of the points that Councillor Ingalls has brought up, but it was just to see sort of like whether it was all the primary 7 pupils that have been involved from all of the schools, and if not, you know, are we going to be following that through, and is it going to be like a continuous programme? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks very much for your input there. Just regarding the primary 7 pupils, Tony's he's the local area liaison officer for Wigtownshire, so he can probably give you a better update than myself regarding the input that the primary 7 pupils get. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, we're looking at covering the whole area, primary 7, and we're doing a few other initiatives regarding the same age group to try and reduce antisocial behaviour, and we're starting a new initiative that's coming up next week, starting here through the fire station for the local area of Newton Stewart regarding antisocial behaviour and deliberate fire setting and whatever. So we've got that with the Newton Stewart initiative. It's a 6-week individual course running for a couple of hours every Wednesday night. So we've got DG Youth Work and we've got Newton Stewart Initiative, and they're coming in different groups to try and get involved and try and make a relationship with the kids, so we can try and reduce antisocial behaviour around the area, and obviously continue with the P6, P7 input. So hopefully that's answered your question. Yeah, and while we're looking to drive on, we've also got for the same age group, Douglas York, we've got an event next Tuesday, which is for the kids around basically a bit of everything, driving, leaving the school, domestic abuse. So we've got an event on next week next Tuesday, taking place for the full day with all the partners at Douglas York in relation to trying to drive down and teach new skills for leaving the school and driving, etc.
Councillor Hill, you want to come back in?
Yeah, no, that all sounds really positive. I know that many years ago, when my 2 elder ones were at the high school, there used to be like a collaboration, and the police and the fire used to come in and they used to do like a setup of how it would be if there was a road traffic accident and it was on fire. Is that the type of thing that you'd be looking at again to do within the schools, within the partnership?
Yeah, Safe Drive Stay Alive is what it was called years ago, but having a different approach. We're not wanting to have that forceful approach anymore. So it's more about learning and behaviours than it is. So that's not going to go ahead at the minute for various reasons, but we're trying to do the same type of thing. We'll educate the youngins as they come through and also for road safety.
Councillor Hill.
Sorry, and I know when I was at the Colts, you had was it the VR sets? How's that going? Are those going to be incorporated with the older ones?
We've been using the VR headsets at the moment and we're getting good feedback. This simulates our antisocial behaviour inside the vehicle, and you are the passenger of the vehicle. And as you look around, you can see the kids in the back carrying on with the driver, putting them off, and it results in an accident, and then you're basically the passenger, and you can watch his accident right through to the end. And we've already had them at the school. We've been working at Academy School with PC McCutcheon. There were a couple of events there just a few weeks ago, and they've been taken on very well. So we're hopefully going to put that across the area and offer it out for everybody that wants it.
Councillor Scobie.
Just wonder if that worked. So obviously the fire service has been busy with Tony and John throughout the period, and it's a positive report, but there are concerns in them for me. Hope that the committee would be also concerned, particularly in road safety. And while you're recording there that there's a slight increase in number of casualties from 20 to 22, I'm particularly concerned about the A75, the A77. Well, you wouldn't deal with A77. We do deal with A75, or the fire service do deal with the 75. And my condolences go out to those who have lost their lives. And there's one in Newton Stewart where two daughters have lost their father, and the wife losing her husband. But there's been others on the 75, and one just recently, 27, I think it was, 27-year-old. In Dumfries, just last week, I believe. And it's really, you know, I've asked this question in the past in terms of the fire service having to attend these incidents, these fatalities, indeed, whether they feed back to the Scottish Government just how bad the two trunk roads are for fatalities. I think it's, if not it's almost the highest in Scotland. For both roads, particularly on the A77. And again, the part here that talks about motorbikes, and it's the state of the A75. While it's bad for motorists, it's even worse for motorbikes. Meeting some of these ruts on the road, and they throw you. Fortunately, there's not been that many fatalities, but there have been some. And it's really whether the Scottish Fire Service do feedback to the Scottish Government just how bad both trunk roads are. And on another point on page 24, and it's good to see, because this has always been a concern over many years in terms of who attends to fires at Stena, particularly if it's on the open sea. And it's good to see that you've been out there. Whether you could elaborate more on just what role we've got as a fire service to any incidents of fire on board ferry vessels. Those are my 2 points, Chair.
Thanks very much, Councillor Scobie. Just regarding that, the local stats on fatalities do get fed back to a national level. As Tony alluded to earlier, we do have a number of programmes that we do put in place to try and reduce these numbers as much as possible. It's prevention work, whether it's education, whether it be through the schools or actually on the ground at like the Stena ports for the motorcycles during the North West 200 or the event we did have at Castle Kennedy. That's what we do to basically try and reduce it on an education front. Regarding the state of the roads, I would say it's got to be a contributing factor, the roads in some of these fatalities. But from my point of view, providing the information and the stats that just go forward to the government and has looked at, I am aware there was some information and news just recently regarding the roads and the state of the roads. I did see that last week on the news. the other point you're making, sorry, what's the second point you made?
I think it's just on this, sorry, just on the Stena. You know,
Stena.
the close working with Stena that you did, that
Yes.
personnel did visit, take a trip.
We did have a familiarisation visit to Stena, and the personnel from Wigtownshire did attend several sessions on the vessels themselves, primarily just to give us an idea how the vessels are laid out, how we can work hand in hand with the staff that's on or the crew that's on the boats as well. So we do have a responsibility for fighting fires on ships, which is in the harbour. So getting information and allowing to do exercises along with the crew gives us a big advantage if we're turning up, to instance, at the ports. Thank you.
Happy with that, Councillor?
Yeah, it's just the point, and I take John in terms of his education and prevention. But, you know, most of the motorbikes coming in for the Northern Ireland, what is a Northwest 200 event, will be from outside. And it's just, you know, to make people alert, just how many bikes actually travel both roads to go to Northwest 200 and to continually make aware of just the dangers that both these roads, and it's almost like a patchwork quilt, drive it up and down them. We've all had experience of it, and it's really just how bad it is for Transport Scotland to maintain the road, but also for the Scottish Government to recognise that they need improvement to dual carriageway standards.
Thanks. Yeah, come in, Tony.
Yeah, just on the back of that, Councillor, as you're saying there, we set up the Stena event 2 years ago, and we did a survey for the motorcycle riders, and majority of them, as you say, come through the area just to get to Stena. They've come from way down south and up north as well. So on the back of that, the Dumfries and Galloway Fire Service has got a road safety partnership. I don't know if you're aware of that. Within that partnership, multi-agencies come together and we work out the safest way to get people into the area and back out by even though like further up the A77 is signposted to slow down and be aware of high traffic, update the police boards on the motorway as they come into the 75 of this area. And also the last year there, what we've done is we shut the junctions at the Inch Parks to allow the hundreds of bikes to come off and get away in the traffic before they get mixed in with the lorries, to prevent road accidents. So even the police on the motorcycles, they can go with them, control the speed, and that's what we've been doing as a part of the road safety partnership. And also collaboratively working together with other partners to reduce accidents, and touch wood, it's been low, but it's been highlighted through the road safety partnership by putting road markings on for cyclists. I don't know if you've seen them on the roads. We're trying to introduce that on the sharp bends where they're putting chevrons, where the drivers or the riders or the cyclists stay between them two lines, and that gives them the proper line round the corner. But the road positioning for the cyclists, what they're saying is there is a lot of potholes and they can't stay in that ideal road line because it's no safe sometimes. So you're right what you're saying, but I think we're putting a lot of work in place, and there's been a lot of work over the years for the cyclists, and I know a lot of holes have been upgraded. So yeah, thanks for that.
Thanks, Tony. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, as ever, I really enjoy getting your reports. They're really easy to read. You can capture them, and I won't stop saying thank you for that, because we read a lot of reports, and to have one that's easy to see and flick through is really helpful. My question is in relation to page 24, and it's recognising the issue of climate change and the challenges of wildfires, etc. And I see that the two locations are New Galloway and Langham. However, I'm really there's a huge swathe, obviously, of the Galloway Hills further down here, down the Machars, down the Rins as well. And in terms of those wildfires, are they captured anywhere in the sort of other reports? So on page 36, we've got non-domestic fire safety, and there's reference of agriculture there. But do wildfires come under agriculture if it's forestry, for example? And are we working with, say, fire units in Bar Hill, for example. Obviously, it's out with Dumfries and Galloway. But how are we ensuring that we have got good coverage to make sure that those are dealt with appropriately? And working with Forestry Commission, is there some joint working there? Because this is an issue that's going to not go away. Thanks.
Yep, thanks for that question, Councillor. Regarding the sort of resilience for wildfires, obviously climate change is one of the bigger contributing factors for more wildfires and more serious wildfires. We did have a couple of serious wildfires last year in Scotland. The two stations, New Galloway and Langham, will be level 2 stations, which means they'll have enhanced PPE, they'll have enhanced training, and they will have additional equipment. The additional equipment won't be based at the station. It will in fact be based on sprinter vans, which is sort of based throughout Scotland. There will normally use vans throughout Scotland, but what happens when there's a wildfire in our area, these vans get deployed to our area with all the wildfire fighting equipment on them, and these two stations, with their enhanced training and enhanced PPE, will be on scene to deal with incidents. That's not to say that all the fire stations are trained wildfire stations. They'll not just at an enhanced level, which will be covered by these. On top of that, to back up the enhanced, there is level 3 stations throughout Scotland as well. They don't need to be based in the Dumfries and Galloway. We can pull these larger units or increased amount of personnel into the areas if we do have a larger wildfire. So, yeah, does that cover?
So, no, that's really helpful to know. Do we have an indication of how many wildfires we've had? Is it captured anywhere, the figures, or can we maybe get that in future? If especially if it's going to be significant, even if it's just about raising awareness to the public of how many wildfires that the service is having to contend with.
Aye.
Thanks.
But we don't have something specifically for wildfire, but going forward, that's something we can definitely look at, and I can pull that information for you to give you an indication if there is any wildfire, certainly in the Dumfries and Galloway or the Wigtown area. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good point, Councillor Hagman. Yeah, Ben.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Page 20, pleased to see that the availability of staff has been increased at Whithorn and Drumore stations. I'm just wondering, how close are you to getting a full complement in those stations? It's good to see that you've got more staff, but just wondering, when that will be achieved. And second question, page 25, 3.13 goes on about the fire and rescue service and short-term lets. Just about what the firemen have been doing in that. I know that the council's just increased their staff to process short-term lets within the council. I'm just wondering, is there a backlog for you in your availability on processing those? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor. Just regarding crew and our staff at the stations, as was mentioned by Councillor David Inglis, Stranraer is currently sitting at full capacity. Wigtown will be full capacity if my current intake gets through their medicals, if you like. Drumore is sitting below capacity at the moment, but I do have personnel in intake in the recruitment process. And Stranraer, which was mentioned earlier, we've got one additional crew member just started at Stranraer, and we do have a further 2 in the recruitment process, which will take us up to full complement again. So we're doing very well at the moment regarding crewing and retaining crewing. The second point regarding the fire safety and the short-term lets, it'll probably be no surprise that there has been quite a marked increase in workload regarding the short-term lets, but happy due to sort of redesign or the fire services role within that process. We're quite happy with it. We're up to speed with that. We're on top of the whole process, if you like. And I'm not sure how much you're aware of that, but there was quite an amount of work that came across our desk this year and last. But we're quite happy with that. We're at a stage now where we're processing the information and the requests effectively.
Yeah, there was a big influx of everyone rushing to do it all at once because of the deadline. So no, it's good to hear that you're on top of that.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councillor McCammon.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, thank you very much, like everyone said, for this report. It is always very interesting and easy to read, so that's a bonus. I'm unsure if you're aware, but the council's due to roll out a household battery recycling curbside collection. I just wondered, guys, is this something that we mentioned because the whole battery recycling has conjured a few questions from constituents in that, why do we need to do it? And one of the main reasons, or one of the big reasons certainly, is that they can cause house fires. And they have also caused fires at the Echo Deco in Dumfries in general waste. So I wondered, maybe perhaps a small request, if you don't already do so, maybe in the fire safety visits, in the spirit of collaborative working, you could mention this. Now, I know it probably isn't a huge factor in fires that you respond to, or maybe you could enlighten me, but I just wondered if it's something you consider adding to your fire safety at home educational talks.
Thank you, Councillor. I wasn't personally actually aware of that. The curbside collections, we have had a big increase in education regarding lithium-ion batteries in the fire service, and we have had a few incidents regarding vehicles with the lithium-ion batteries and lorries that carry the sort of recycled matter as well. So it is something we look very closely at, and we're putting preparation in place for that. What I can do regarding that is I can highlight it to my fire safety team, and we can look at adding to the home fire safety visit report, and we can make sure that households is more aware of sort of guidelines and safety procedures regarding batteries, and especially lithium-ion batteries. I hope that answers your question. All right, Tony Reid's got a bit to add on that, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. During the home fire safety visit, we do highlight the dangers of charging and times of day you charge, and also we work in partnership with Wheatley and Lowerburn to make sure that people's no charging mobility scooters and blocking access points and egress. So that's a big thing at the minute. We've picked up over the last year or so an increase, and obviously during the home fire safety visit, some of the questionnaire we've got doesn't relate to so much to batteries, so we're actually going to get that added into one of the questions if you use batteries in the home, because that can increase your risk rating on your form. So we're looking at maybe, and it's a national thing, it's not just locally, the form to be adjusted to answer them questions or pass them to the members of the public to make it as safe as we can. We do offer extension adapters and stuff like that. If people's got the square block adapters, we'll exchange that free of charge for an extension cable. So we are working to reduce that during a home fire safety visit at the minute. So, thank you. Thanks, Tony. Councillor McCammon, does that answer your questions?
Absolutely. I certainly don't want to add to anybody's workload, but if you're already doing it, then that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay, we've got Youth Councillor Adrian Dargay.
Thank you, Chair. It's just to ask, on that, the full capacity in Drumore, are they all paid what are basically volunteers?
I struggled to hear that. Did you pick up the question?
Sorry, just to clarify, was that regarding capacity to Drumore Station?
Yes. Are they all volunteers, or some of them paid?
Yeah, I can clarify that. So at Drumore Station, it is a volunteer station. The watch commander and crew commanders is retained, so they're on a retained contract. The firefighters is on a volunteer contract at the moment. Regarding capacity, we're not at full capacity at Drumore, but we do have personnel on the recruitment process at the moment, and hopefully we will increase our numbers at Drumore. Thank you, Councillor.
You happy with that, Adrian?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've got Councillor Marsh.
Grand. Thank you, Chair. No, it was just, again, thank you for the report. A very encouraging report once again. A reduction in all the performance parameters, so extremely pleasing to see. The Wigtownshire services and stations are excelling against their D&G neighbours, so again, a huge plus for Wigtownshire. The one thing that I did notice at page 21, at 3.8, the deliberate fire setting, that's really the only parameter that has increased, and it's now increased for the third consecutive year, and it's at, in 23-24, on page 35, at its highest level it's been in 6 years. Is there a specific reason for this? Is there something you can pinpoint as to why that is? And also, what are you putting in place? Because I'm quite sure you mentioned in the report there are education and youth work initiatives in place, but if you could just elaborate a little bit more on that, what's being put in place to try and, again, reduce these targets? Thank you.
Councillor, thanks for your question there. I'm aware, again, Tony Reid's picking up a lot of my workload here, but Tony has got a sort of direct intervention regarding what you're discussing there. So if I can get Tony just to pitch in for that, thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for your question. At the minute, we work closely with the police, and there's been local people charged for the setting these fires, and they're being dealt with. We are doing a number of fire safety setting and education programmes for the youth at the moment. For some of the cases you're talking about, I don't want to say too much about it. We're working closely, and especially in the schools, giving presentations at the school along with the police, joint presentations. And we're trying to drive it down, but the numbers, the areas that's concerned, it's just, I mean, the kids are just misbehaving, and we're trying to drive it down, and the police are monitoring, and the community action teams and your own teams are going out there to try the best they can. But we are trying to drive it down, but there is a spike, but it was the same person doing quite a lot of them, so which takes the number up. So with hopefully after this programme that will reduce, and touch wood again, I keep doing that, but there's not been much happening lately. So we are trying our best, and we are putting things in place, education for the kids, and try and promote reduction in that.
Grand, thank you. No, I mean, it's only one item in the whole report. As I say, the rest of the report is fantastic to read, but no, it's encouraging to hear that the work is in progress, and obviously if it's one individual with a number of instances, I'm quite sure next time we see it, it will be at a much lower rate or number. Thank you.
Thank you, members. I don't think we have any other questions or comments. So thanks, Tony and John, for coming along. And sorry.
Yeah, just the point, when you come to the recommendations, Chair, one of you take as an action. Appreciating what both John and Tony said in terms of education on the collaborative working between the fire safety service and the police, that you as Chair write to the Scottish Transport Minister just to highlight the dangers of the 75 and the 77 recognising that part of the 77 is in our region, so it supports what the fire services are doing and putting forward all these statistics, but that we write as well, if you would take that as an action, Chair, to write and just highlight the importance, particularly with motorbikes on the north, the Irish 200, Northwest 200. If you would do that, Chair, from the committee.
Absolutely, I'm quite happy to do that, on behalf of the committee. So, as I say, once again, thanks very much for the report that, as Councillor Hagman and Councillor McCammon have stated, really clear and gives us a lot of information, some good comments. Members will move to the recommendations. Members are asked to scrutinise the performance report for Dumfries and Galloway from the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service for the period 1st April 23 to 30th of September 2023, as detailed in the appendices. Are members happy to agree? Thank you. We'll move on to item 5. Yeah. I'll give you a minute just to get to go.
Just leave your cups, you're okay.
Thank you. Members will move on to item 5. 2023-24 6-month assessment. 1st of April to 30th of September 2023 of Community Services Service Plan 23 to 24. Report by Interim Head of Community Services. We now turn to item 5, the Community Services Service Plan Performance Half-Year Report. And this report covers the performance from April 2022 to 30th of September 2023. As always, this report covers a range of services and projects that are vital to helping our communities prosper and thrive. I'm pleased to see that indicators are all on track with no exceptions. The Stranraer Place Plan was endorsed by Economy and Resources Committee on the 5th of September 2023 and is supported by officers across communities and Economy and Resources. It is good to see that place plans are providing a strong voice to our local communities and that creative placemaking is working well in Stranraer around the George Tell. I'd also highlight that in the survey quoted re lifelong learning and youth work, 97% of young people reported improved confidence, skills, individual, family, community and working life. It is important that our young people are supported beyond school to build their interpersonal and work skills. Liz Manson, Interim Head of Community Services, is available to answer members' questions and comments. So I'll open the floor to any members. Councillor Scobie.
Yeah, Chair, I'm looking at page 43, both 4.5.13 and again 4.5.2. In 4.513, it's good to see that the Community Planning Partnership Board has recognised the issue of tackling inequalities. And I just wonder where it stands in terms of the council's accepting the motion some time ago in terms of maternity services, where we stand in terms of the maternity services reopening in at the Galloway Community Hospital, because there is a huge inequality that exists for women in the west of the region. For the whole of Wigtownshire, we have to travel to Dumfries. So I just wonder just how strong this is by the Partnership Board in tackling inequalities using the maternity service as an example. And in 4.5.2, the Enterprise House and Enterprise Workshop, Jimmy and I had many discussions on this one, and it's to do with the community asset transfer and whether there is a time scale for this, one to come to the area committee, hopefully for endorsement, given the tremendous amount of work that the community reuse shop does in that, but also in terms of a timeline for then, if it's endorsed by the area committee, to go to the appropriate committee when we can see that, because it's been on the go for a considerable time. And the other one on page 44, and it's really to pay tribute. And I noticed, I came across Laura at the door, Laura at Kilpie, and it's the amount of work that Laura puts in Wigtownshire. Particularly, I want to thank her for the work that she does in Stranraer in terms of her and her team with the youths and being involved in the many events that Laura keeps turning up at. It's tremendous, the efforts that are put in by Laura and her team and the youths in getting them involved to build this confidence, their skills and everything else. So I think I would want placed on record my thanks for all the work, and I hope the committee would do the same. Laura just keeps turning up everywhere, so she does, in all that she does, and I think she's got a big event this weekend to celebrate women, youth, and so forth. So it's really my first two is, what strength is there in tackling the inequalities, using the maternity service as an example, and then a timeline for the cat transfer at the community reuse shop. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scobie. Liz, do you want to come in?
Yes, thank you very much indeed. So indeed, see for the locality plan, it does involve NHS, and so that specific issue is undoubtedly one that will come up from their point of view, but also there will be community engagement as part of the development of the locality plans. And given that this is certainly something that is a topic in that area, I think we can be confident that it will feature in the locality plan for both the Stranraer areas. With regards to the timeline for the enterprise workshops, I don't have that information to hand. Very happy to send it on to members once I've consulted colleagues, particularly the Ward 1 officer, unless wearing another hat, your lead officer today happens to have a date for that one, but if not, we'll certainly be happy to hand that on to you. And the final point, couldn't agree more with the fantastic work of Laura and the youth work team. And indeed, yes, there's a number of us going to be in Stranraer over the weekend for a Four Nations Young Women's Conference that will bring together young women, as the name suggests, and obviously older women, to look at the issues facing young women in our region and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah, I'll pass the second question on to Jamie. Thank you.
I'll just put my other hat on here. In terms of the community asset transfer that has been in play for a wee while for various factors, one of them around the governance tweaks that we need to have in place to ensure that the group looking for the land has a proper constitution that meets the requirements of a community transfer body. I have talked to Paul after his recent vacation, and we're looking towards June by having this wrapped up, sort of thing, by having decision. That's kind of timeline for it. Hopefully all going well. We'll get some meetings, just a few things to kind of put in place. I'll not say too much about the community asset transfer because I don't want to prejudice. It's a member decision, but there is potential. In fact, there's not potential there is some cutting edge practice in terms of how the council deals with waste management. As you know, implications, I think, in terms of cost of living for folk through upcycling and through use of materials that were previously waste materials. So we're kind of aware of the urgency, aware that it has been going on for a long time, Councillor Scobie, because I think we had some very early discussions with Paul and the team on this, so it has been rumbling on for a wee bit. But I think we'll get everything in place just now. We've now got the new Ward 1 officer in place. She's behind you. So, no, everything's lined up and ready to move in that, Councillor Scobie. So that's our kind of timeline for it.
Billy, you want to come back?
Yeah, and pleased to hear that it'll be wrapped up by June. Hopefully there'll be some decision taken by then, because, you know, I'm hearing from other departments there's so much potential and excitement in terms of projects. And there's no doubt in my mind that the community reuse shop could facilitate many of these projects, but they don't have the capacity as we speak, so that's good to hear. I'm also delighted to hear what Liz said in terms of this weekend's conference, and nothing would be more pertinent than young women, maternity services and everything else, and I hope it is an issue that may come up at the conference this weekend. And indeed, if any have any spare time, there's a public meeting on the Galloway Community Hospital, so if you do have time, you'd be always welcome to come along at 11 o'clock on Saturday to hear just the concerns, the fears, the anxiety that exists, you know, in terms of the recent announcement of the 35 million in deficit of the NHS. So in that respect, I'm delighted to hear, Liz, and I hope it will come up, and that we do require that maternity unit reopened in the Galloway Community Hospital for the whole of Wigtownshire, rather than women expecting to have their babies at the side of the road. So thanks for that, Liz and Jamie, and hopefully everything will be wrapped up in June.
Thanks, Willie. Can we go to Councillor McCammon?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And just to reassure Willie that, yeah, the maternity services definitely will come up at the conference, because I'll be speaking at it. So, my question, Chair, it might be something that you could respond to, because I think you have commented on it before, or indeed, Liz. It's about the place plans. Now, given that this is a retrospective report, I just wondered if we could give an update for the sake of anybody watching publicly and for the wider committee on the update, given that we have no community council now at Whithorn. They were leading on the place plan, and I just wondered if we could say a few words on terms of how we're moving forward with that, please.
As far as I'm aware, that's went to outside consultants, and they're going through that consultancy phase at the present moment in time. Liz, do you have anything to add to that?
So this is the Borderlands plan, and yes, the ward officer is working with local groups, and indeed there's consultancy available for all of the Borderlands plans to bring together a group of local people to work with the consultants. So it doesn't necessarily need to have a community council. Clearly, that's a positive if there is one in place. And it obviously it takes a wee bit longer if we're trying to bring people together from other groups. But yes, for your reassurance, the work has not ceased because there may be no community council there, but it does just take that wee bit more discussion with the community about how to bring local people together.
Thank you, Liz. Councillor McCammon, you happy with that?
Yeah, I think it was just really to touch on Liz's response about it doesn't have to be a community council that leads these things. It's a few comments that I've had from members of the public, so thank you for clarifying that, Liz.
Thank you. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've got a fair few comments, if I may, so I'll go through them slowly. And, you know, just the first one there, in reference to the Whithorn Place Plan, I know that we had a Ward 1 and 2 economic update, and there was a discussion. Appreciate that's not for decision making or taking anything forward within that space, but certainly I made the formal request at that point that the consultancy that is leading on the place plan and Whithorn would get the support to have an additional feedback session. There was comments made by the consultancy that because of the public holidays and the period spanning over Christmas, that they had slightly less time than they normally would to do public engagement. I was really pleased to be invited to do an interview. I appreciate that. I think all the elected members in Ward 2 were invited to that, and there was an option for us to have a combined session, and I know that they went to the school, and I wanted to maybe just check to see if our youth council representatives were actually invited to that. So I know that all young people within the Whithorn catchment area were invited into that to feedback. But, you know, I'm really delighted that we do have our youth representatives, and I've not welcomed them formally, but, you know, really great to see Max here and Adrian online as well, and thank you for coming forward. So it was just really to maybe capture those comments. In terms of the report in front of us, I'm really pleased that Councillor Scobie brought up the issue of the CAT transfers, and it is referenced in the narrative of the report here. Certainly, again, as a ward councillor, we do get updates on that, but our latest update only referenced a stage 1 application and a stage 2, and certainly when you read the report, there's quite a list within here. But my understanding is where a CAT transfer request doesn't progress, it essentially drops off the list. So we've got a big long list here, and there's also duplication. So Blairmount Park, for example, has both the mini gaff playing field and pavilion, and then there's a separate one for Blairmount Park Pavilion. Now, again, my understanding is it's different groups, but can we maybe add to the recommendations, and this maybe follows on from what Councillor Scobie's request was, that we actually get an update on the community asset transfers. What's at stage 1, what's at stage 2, how long they've been in the system for, because if they've been going for, you know, 2, 3, 4 years, are the groups actually still interested, or are they dropping off? So I think it would be really pertinent. So if I can add that as an additional recommendation to come back, that would be really useful. In terms of the appendices, and there's lots of information here as well, I'm really, you know, it does state on page 48 that the progress for support for community asset transfers to empower communities to take ownership is sitting at 75%. How on earth has that figure come about? Because I don't, you know, how do you quantify what the support is? Does that mean 75 have received the support and there's 25% of organisations that have received no support? I don't believe that's the case, because I know how great the team are at reaching out. So I'm confused as to how you come to that figure. And then certainly when you look at ward events on page 49, it includes community conversations. Now, my understanding is a community conversation is a separate thing to a ward event. So could we perhaps get those disaggregated, because they are two very separate processes. One is community and member-led, the other is led by the local authority. So to conflate the two, because apparently there was 4 ward events last year. Now, there may have been community conversations, but there wasn't any ward events, and we're to have a value of 8 for this year. I know of one in Ward 2 from Castle Kennedy about speeding on the A75 is in progress. So a little bit of clarity about that, and then you'll be pleased to know my final point is in regards to volunteers. I would absolutely, you know, concur with everything that's been said about our youth work services, and particular Laura. She's been fantastic and outstanding for the local authority in all she does. And certainly we look on page 49, it references the value of 111 number of volunteers in Wigtown. So that's what we're aiming for. Last year we got 86, which is a huge amount for our area. But then when you look over the page on page 50, it says the number of volunteer agreements across Wigtown area last year was only 19. So have we got volunteers that are simply turning up without any sort of agreement? Because we rely so heavily on our volunteers. They're a huge asset to us, and we need to look after our volunteers. Clearly, they may not be being paid in a monetary sense, but there's a huge resource that they can access, and are we supporting our volunteers? So a lot there. Apologies for the length of my questions, and happy to get catch up on any of this out with the committee if appropriate as well. Thanks.
Let's have a go. Liz, can you comment on any of these?
Yes, absolutely. So in terms of the first point about the community asset transfers, what you will see in your ward updates is where there has been progress in a particular community asset transfer. So Councillor Hagman, you're absolutely right. We wouldn't give you the full list every single time, but what your ward update does tell you if there's been a significant development. If you want your ward information provided in a different way, we'll be very happy to accommodate whatever format and how you would like to see that. And with regard to that have been going on for some time, the ward officers and indeed Jamie Ferguson do indeed have conversations with the community group about the viability of their proposal, of their thinking and their capacity if something has been going on for some time and there has been no progress. And that's both just about helping the community group to be realistic about what they're going to be focusing on, as well as the council's time and support in progressing a particular community asset transfer. So very much the message of this is about empowerment of community groups, but there is a good liaison to make sure that what's still on the list, if you like, is certainly a viable and realistic proposal. With regard to the community conversations and ward events, because that it's a numerical indicator, it's designed to show you the volume of in-person or online activity of events that are taking place. Again, we could separate them out and give you two separate indicators if you wanted to have that. It was simply because they are both events that are about community engagement, that, you know, colleagues and performance management about how best to present performance information to you. But if you want to see them separately, there's absolutely no problem in doing that for the next service plan. And the final point about volunteer agreements, I think what this one is recording is specific formal agreements of volunteers who are working with the council in a certain way. There are, of course, many other different types of volunteers in our communities, and so that wider effort is certainly very important to all our communities, but that's a very specific agreement that is captured in that performance indicator. Thank you.
Katie, does that cover everything? I think there's only one thing in there I think that you picked up on was the Youth Council feed-in to place plans.
Yeah, no, thank you. As I said about the community asset transfer, if we can maybe come back to that in terms of the recommendations to get a specific report, I think I would like to see that captured. But no, I think yes, the place planning, it was to ensure where we have got elected youth councillors that they are able to form part of that conversation, even if they're not within their communities. So, you know, that would be helpful to just get some confirmation of that. And in terms of the support to our volunteers, that's useful to know, Liz, that it's a separate issue that's not maybe quite clear in the report. I think, yeah, no, I appreciate the responses.
Thanks, Councillor Hagman. I'll come to you just in a second, Councillor Dashford. Yeah, I think the community asset transfer is a major issue because there are a lot of community asset transfers, and we've had this conversation, Jamie, that have been sitting for quite a long time and not a lot's been happening on them, and we could really do an update on those and exactly what the process is, you know, if they're sitting there for a long time and nothing's been moving, and there's maybe 2 or 3 groups in for that same asset. Okay, I think it's Councillor Dashford next. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a lot of my questions have already been answered already, actually, which is good. I'm just wondering about local place plans on page 42. I know that there's also place plans in the work for Portpatrick and Kirkmaiden, but they're not included here in the report. This was something I raised 2 months ago, maybe, because it wasn't included in one of our economic development meetings. So I'm just wondering why that's absent from here. I know it was included in the ward officer's update recently, so it just seems to be a significant omission. Thank you.
Yep, happy
Liz?
just to clarify. So it may be the ward officer will be telling you the conversations that are taking place, the communities that have maybe contacted us informally. What is listed here is the ones that we have a formal expression of interest for. But very happy again, perhaps in a word update, just to make clear about the position of any discussions that are taking place with these communities.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was at Kirkmaiden Community Council recently, and I don't know when this report was written, but currently they are receiving formal support. They've got an arrangement with the council currently to distribute leaflets and such for a place plan. So I'm just sort of wondering, how do you distinguish between formal and informal?
Well, and again, there is a formal expression of interest that community groups lodge with the on the council website. There's full details there about the formal process, but of course we're working with groups just to help them work out if they want to go down this particular route. But again, very happy to share with you that kind of process information about when these informal discussions and support does become a formal submission and an expression of interest under the procedure that's been agreed.
Thanks, Liz. Appreciate it.
Councillor Hill.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. First of all, I'll congratulate, like other councillors have on page 44, the youth work with the health and wellbeing category, they won an award, and also the group award for national adult learners. Just fantastic ongoing work by our youth work services, and Laura Kilty, like everybody said, is just phenomenal in what she does alongside her staff as well. Going back onto page 43 at 4.5.14, where we're looking at the health and social care partnership, the home teams, I'd really like to see coming back to this committee a bit more about the home teams, a bit more about how the council are working collaboratively and how the council are looking at measuring the impact that this is having on the communities and community services, but also on the public. I don't feel that we're measuring the impact that it's having in families and communities, and I have asked for this on the health board for their side of it, but I'd also like to see the council's view of how they're measuring the impact that the home teams are having, whether it be positive impacts or negative impacts, please. So if that could be put down as a recommendation to come back to the next area committee, that'd be great. Thanks.
Liz, do you want to come in?
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, as you'll all know, the home teams are at an early stage, and we certainly are working with NHS and Health and Social Care Partnership colleagues to make sure that their work is coordinated with the other place initiatives that are taking place, and indeed our ongoing ward working in particular. So yeah, we'll be very happy to take forward some work with them and bring a report back in the future. In terms of the actual performance reporting, again, you'll know that the Health and Social Care Partnership is looking at its performance reporting and whether or not the present locality plans that you get are the right information and the right way to report to you on progress. So I know that's something that the Health and Social Care Partnership are looking at. So your comments, Councillor Hill, I'm sure are very timorous, and it's helpful if you've already raised it there, looking at it. But we'll be very happy to pick that up so that we can also identify what the council's contribution is to that work.
Councillor Hill.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I just think that it's really important because the home teams are in the West that we're talking about here, so it is prominent that it comes back to the area committee so that it can be discussed locally as well. So thank you for that.
Sorry, can I just have clarity in what you're looking for here? Is it a report on the home team's work within?
The council's part of the home team.
Right. Okay. Okay, Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me come back in again. I think it was just on the back of what Councillor Hill was just referencing there, and certainly Liz's response about the Health and Social Care Partnership. I was really careful with my wording previously when I spoke to add to the recommendations, so we agree to have. And one of the reasons for that is because we have had actions taken forward and they're still outstanding. Now, I appreciate that we did get an update that, you know, some of those actions have been completed, but one of the ones that is still ongoing, and it was, am I 2 years now, requesting locality meetings with our health and social care partners. It's still not been progressed, and I appreciate that, you know, officers have been attempting to get a response to that one, but how do we actually get this feedback? I'm really conscious that, you know, we often raise issues here within the Wigtown Area Committee, and, you know, we make recommendations, or we note points to go back to the service committee, but I am yet to receive a service committee, whether it's communities, economy and resources, or FPT, that has a section saying feedback from Wigtown Area Committee was, and perhaps, I appreciate Vlad is on the call here, that may form part of the review of the Wigtown Area Committee, but we do need to tighten up on that. So I would absolutely support an additional recommendation if that's how we get these points back. But I maybe take this opportunity to ask if we do have an update on the re-establishing of locality meetings, so these issues can be discussed direct with our NHS colleagues. Thank you.
Okay, Jamie, can you come in on that?
Yeah, just in terms of the health and social care meetings that were proposed at a previous, that were recommended or agreed at a previous area committee, I think it was Steph at the time. We have been in contact back and forward with Steph Mottram, and I know that other area committees had similar requests. In fact, I think all the other 3 area committees had similar requests. So I know that Steph has been trying to programme those in across the region, and I mean, we have got the agreement to that, and I think it's just a case of getting the dates right for that. I know that our committee admin has been working to kind of put those dates in place, but I think also working with other committee admin just to get dates. So I don't think it's a matter of principle in this one. I think it's just a matter of timings.
Happy with that, Councillor Hagman? Liz, did you want to come back in on any of that?
Well, as Jamie was saying, I think NHS colleagues are willing to have a dialogue, but they're in that transition just now from the locality plans into the home teams. So they're just trying to work through about how they deal with their reporting and performance information, as well as just ongoing briefings. So we do know that they're in discussion with their colleagues intelligence. And Jamie and I will certainly be very happy to progress that with them. And I think you'll be due to get your next locality plan update at your May meeting. So there may well be an opportunity there just to tease out with them what it is that you're looking for going forward about the home teams. Thank you.
Councillor Hagman?
I would hope we could get something in the diary before the next meeting to discuss about potentially another meeting. You know, it's an outstanding action for about 2 years, so thank you.
You get that one, Liz? Yeah, okay. Moving on, members, have we any other questions? Nobody online looking to? No. We'll move to the recommendations. I'll take the listed recommendations first, and then we'll come back to the additional ones. So members are asked to review the 2023-24 6-month summary performance of the Wigtown area from 1st of April 2023 to 30th September 2023 as set out in paragraph 4.3 and 4.5 and the appendix. 2, to consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report, paragraph 4.5.1 to 4.5.6. And 3, consider any aspects of performance to be referred to the relevant service committee. Now, we also have, I think, 2 additional recommendations. If I can ask Claire just to come in on that.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. I've taken a number of notes, hopefully capturing recommendations and actions. There's been, obviously, you requested a full update on the community asset transfers. What's all in the mix, basically, not just what's being recently updated. Is that in terms of your ward update, or would you expect to see that information back in a report? Thank you. Obviously, there's been an undertaking, given that the information presented about community conversations and ward events can be disaggregated going forward. And you've requesting a report back on the council's part of the health and social care partnership home teams.
Everybody happy with that? Okay, we'll move on to item 6 on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. 6-month assessment of the 6-month assessment, 1st of April to 30th September 2023 of Neighbourhood Services Service Plan 2023-24. Report by Head of Neighbourhood Services. The next report is the 6-month assessment of Neighbourhood Services Service Plan. The report covers from 1st of April to 30th of September 2023. Again, it is good to see from the summary that all indicators are on track, with a few not measured for the half-year report. It's useful to see the numbers against targets for the wide range of services provided. It might be useful to see comparator information from previous years too, and perhaps to include some case studies to accompany the numbers with qualitative information regarding the impact on our local communities. It's good to hear about the completion of the capital works at the Ryan Centre, providing real benefits to local communities. I'm sure members will have their own questions around aspects of this report. Harry Hay, Head of Neighbourhood Services, available for members' questions. So I'll open, hi Harry, so I'll open the floor to members for questions. Councillor Scobie.
Yeah, Chair, just recognising what you said in terms of the Ryan Centre, that we've got it reopened and in full use, so that's a good point. It's also good to note on 4.5.5 Agnew Park and the train there, and we're really moving into the carbon footprint and the saving there, and that it's all electric now, the train. If only they could say the same for them moving out of the Stranraer station, it would be good. However, it's good to note that. Again, 4.5.7, amazing summer. I think, you know, and I'm pleased to see that the budget this year in all three, I think I said a fag packet, but what I meant to say was a fag paper that was very little between the three, but they all recognised the importance of the amazing summer and the benefit that brought to the various events in being able to provide lunch vouchers and so forth. So that was tremendous. What I don't see in the report is any reference to the muggers here and how they are being used. And I've continually raised this at education, where schools rely on the mugger, as do the communities. Notwithstanding that in Stranraer we've got a 3G, but there are others who still use the mugger, and yet they're in a deplorable state with the weather that we've been having, the rain, and they're almost, if not reached there, an unusable stage. And what can get sorted out is we've been said that the restructure is one council, yet I'm finding difficulty in getting education and neighbourhood, whatever, to work together to bring these back up to a usable state for repair and maintenance. So perhaps Harry could address this. It will come back up at education, I have no doubt. I will be raising it again. No as a rhetorical question, but to find someone to do something to bring these back, because schools, it's important for the schools, Part School, Belmont and so forth, that rely on that. It's part of their curriculum. yet they can't use it when it rains and most of the time. So in that respect, I'm asking Harry, have we got this sorted, that we have a budget that's available to repair these and bring them back into use, proper use?
Thanks, Councillor Scobie. Harry, do you want to come in on that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Scobie, for the question. So yeah, we are very fortunate in the Wigtown area that we've got a number of multi-use games areas, many of which are attached to primary schools and are indeed an important aspect of their outside space to encourage young people to participate in sport. We are awaiting colleagues from Architecture and Property Services to commission the necessary assessment of these sites and allocate the budget. It's certainly on our forward plan as a service priority, and we need to make the decision as to whether the surface in its current state on an individual basis can either be refurbished to increase the longevity of that particular surface, or whether the surface requires to be replaced in entirety. And obviously the latter would take an increased budget than the former. So very much recognise that it's an issue that's outstanding, and we have been assured that it's on the capital forward plan in terms of prioritising over everything else that the council needs to try and allocate budget to. So quite happy following area committee this morning to ask for an update and circulate that to all members for their information. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Harry. Councillor Scobie.
Yeah, Chair, again, many have asked the same question. Have we got a timeline for this? Because I hear Harry say that it's a priority in the forward plan. Can we have a timeline for this? Because what does priority mean? You know, because I've been talking about this for years to try and get the multi-use games areas, as Harry the Muggas brought up to standard. Yet it doesn't seem to be materialising in any shape. Can we have a timeline for this, Harry? If it's a priority, what does priority actually mean?
I had a sneaking suspicion that one might be coming, Harry.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair. Yeah, absolutely. Timescales will be part of the request to Property Architectural Services. I think what we need to have is you know, the timescales of each incremental part of the process that needs to be happening, including the condition surveys, because until we get the condition surveys done, that will then influence the work that ultimately requires to be undertaken, and then the budget would have to be allocated to do it. So I'll ask for milestones and timescales for each element of the process. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Harry.
Okay, Willie. Yeah. I think there must obviously be a planned timeline for the whole thing, so it would be useful to have that information, Harry. Thank you, Katie. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks. It seems quite a short report, this, but there's actually a lot of information just in the few pages that are before us. So I think one of the points that I was going to raise is on page 52, it talks about number of visits and usage of customer service centres. Now, I don't sit in the Communities Directorate within the committee, but does the issue of the reported functions, does that get reported back to communities on a regional level? Because I appreciate if people are going on and reporting issues, we can't disaggregate that probably as easy because they could be coming from anywhere. So how do we keep a note of that? And I'm just really conscious, you know, we try and report potholes, we report street lights, etc. But how do we ensure that those are timorously responded to? And I asked this question because I went through, not using my council email, but through my own to report issues, and I heard nothing. Months and months went by magically got fixed, the light, specific light, yesterday, but I've not had an update coming back. So how are we keeping track? Does that go back to the main service committee? So just because we want to encourage people to use online services, but how do we keep a note of those? So that was my first point. The second one, there's obviously mention of the Ryan Centre and the Merrick Leisure Centre and usage, and you can see that obviously the Merrick Leisure Centre has had an increase of usage, and I would assume that's because some people from Stranraer maybe came across because the Ryan Centre had a decrease. But again, it's a plea, and I have made this where there's updates on the Ryan Centre, can you please inform Ward 2 members, because many of our constituents do go to Stranraer, they don't come to Newton Stewart. So when there was works and updates initially proposed for the Ryan Centre, Ward 2 members weren't updated on that. I had to seek that out specifically. And my final point that I wanted to sort of bring up was under the financial wellbeing and revenue services. That's just one sort of small paragraph in here, but there's a huge amount of data there. Could we perhaps, when you've got a whole paragraph full of numbers and there's numbers of households, there's number of applications, there's finance figures, can we actually get that in a much more easy to understand table, and maybe just in a table format? I'm a bit confused as to how there's been 571 homeless applications, of which 99 have been in Wigtown, with, I presume that's the Wigtown area committee area, with 59 clients in Wigtown temporary accommodation and 79 open homeless applications. Well, 79 and 59 is 138, so why is it only 99? The figures don't appear to match up, but I'm sure there's a logical explanation, but it's not captured in the report. And I'll always go back to anybody should be able to open our reports and understand exactly how they work, and you shouldn't have to have any special skills to understand the information. Thank you.
Harry, do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. I'll take them in the order that Councillor Hagman asked them. Just in terms of the report, that is actually sitting with the roads and infrastructure service, so your street lighting, your potholes, etc., as opposed to neighbourhood services. The stats that are included in this particular report relating to customer services are simply the footfall coming into our customer service centres that we've got in the Wigtown area. And as I understand it, yes, they are reported to Communities Committee as part of that performance reporting cycle, but quite happy to pick it up with the appropriate colleagues. Yeah, absolutely. The issue surrounding Ward 2 members being made aware of things that have got a significance across the whole of Wigtown. Hopefully that's already been picked up and actioned. Councillor Hagman's comments specifically in relation to the Ryan Centre have previously been highlighted. And in terms of the welfare, financial wellbeing and welfare team, yeah, we can get a revised format in future reports. But just for a little bit of clarity in terms of the temporary accommodation and open homeless applications, they could actually be the same individual. So they could be in temporary accommodation, but also awaiting a homeless application to get concluded. But I appreciate that unless you've got that level of detail, the interpretation of the figures can be maybe difficult to get that out. Thank you, Chair.
Katie, you happy with that?
Yep, no, thank you. I think it's about having some of that narrative, because the financial wellbeing and revenue service, I think they're sometimes the unsung heroes of Dumfries and Galloway Council. They're doing a huge job of helping and supporting and catching some of our most vulnerable members in our community. So actually to get a little bit more of a spotlight on what that team's doing and how effective they're being across Wigtownshire, I think would be really useful. So in future reports, if we can get an expansion on that special point, on that service, excuse me, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Councillor Hill.
Hi, yeah, thank you, and thank you for the report. Lots of information in it. Just on page 54 at 4.5.6, the Ryan Centre, There was an overspend of over 250,000 on the works that was done, but yet you still go in and the swimming pool, some of the roof hasn't been painted, you know, the steps on the slide weren't updated, haven't been painted. So for spending that much money and increasing the wonderful things that we've done, you walk into the main reception, and I don't know if this has been done, correct me if I'm wrong, Harry, but there's tiles missing with wires hanging down in the reception area. And my next question is, there's not a report as to whether the heating has been fixed. So if we could just have those sort of like things clarified, because some of them are cosmetic. It does add to the budget, but it doesn't look great when we're spending that much money and that much time to refurbish somewhere and it's not completely finished. The other thing I would like to say is that I'd really like to thank and commend the staff at the Ryan Centre, because during the upheaval they still managed, shown through this report, to keep the membership up, to keep, you know, both sides of the dry side of the leisure centre running efficiently and effectively, and kept customers happy. And there was a lot of communication over social media about people attending the pool at Stranraer Academy. So I think the staff need to be commended on the hard work that they did during that period of upheaval. But it's just a wee bit disappointing to see that some of the work wasn't finished very well. So if we could just have an update, Harry, as to whether that will be finished, you know, how that's going to continue, or whether, you know, because we're over budget, whether there isn't the funding to finish it off, please.
Harry?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, certainly very much echo Councillor Hill's comments regarding the staff at the Ryan Centre. They're an absolutely fantastic team and an asset to the council, and indeed the community as a whole. And I think their flexibility and effort that they put in to make the overall project of investment in the Ryan Centre work, but also their flexibility in relation to the alternative short-term facilities at the academy worked really, really well. And a lot of that success was down to the staff themselves making it work. The investment in the Ryan Centre was originally done on the basis of a requirement to update and invest in a lot of plant which, if you like, is behind the scenes. So water treatment, air handling, etc. And whilst we were liaising with our colleagues in property and architectural services, we reinforced the point that whilst absolutely we recognise and acknowledge that all that behind the scenes work was absolutely required to run the facility, what we wanted to try and do was ensure that when customers and indeed staff came back into the facilities to use it after that investment, they actually saw a difference as well in terms of you know, cosmetics, for example, that Councillor Hill's touched on. So there was quite a lot of investment in the changing village and the wet side. There's been a lot of decoration done, but equally that's got to be balanced with the available budget. And what I can say is that a number of the items that I am previously aware of are still on the snagging list, and we are awaiting the contractor to come back and complete. So it's not linked to the need for additional budget to be allocated. Property and architectural services assure me that they are pushing contractors to come back and finalise works. This report is obviously relevant up to the end of September, and I realise there's a time lag, but what I will do following this morning's meeting is request property and architectural services give us an update on what that snagging list was, what's been completed, what's still outstanding, and when that will be resolved. And I know certainly the heater and reception is one that has previously been highlighted, and I was assured it was going to get sorted as quickly as possible. So at the time, I can't say whether that has now been sorted, but I'll certainly find out where. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hill.
Yeah, thanks for that, Harry. No, the heating hasn't been sorted and the wires are still hanging down. So whether that's down to the contractor or whether that's down to our own services implementing that, it'd be really good, because this report is 6 months old and some of these things have been reported over 6 months ago through the winter period, which isn't great for staff morale and also isn't good for customers walking into the centre after we've spent so much money on it. So if you could look into those, that'd be great. Thanks.
Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to reiterate Councillor Hill's point, I actually raised this issue at E&R committee to Paul McCulloch, because I feel that we missed a trick there. We spent so much money. We've gone over budget by over £250,000, but yet there's wee bits of paint needing touched up. The entrance doors didn't appear to be touched, and that's the first thing the public see. I took my 2 daughters along to go swimming after it was reopened, and yes, they've done a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes, the heating system, the ventilation, all very necessary things that you don't see. But if you're going to go and spend that much money, just get it right. And I know it's a snagging list, but if it was your house and it was a snagging list, you would not be letting those contractors off the site until it was done to your satisfaction. But the point I was going to make was the Merrick Leisure Centre facilities. It's very encouraging to see the increase in numbers of usage. We went along for a ward visit, Councillor Hagman, Councillor Ingalls and myself, and Councillor Hill's also been to go round the site with the manager, Beverly Mercer. And there were issues raised there, and they have been slowly being seen to and updated. I just wonder, some of them outside, like aesthetically, the signage is still not fixed. Little things that would easily and simply be sorted don't appear to have been done. Could we get a wee update on whether those will be done and when? But also, in addition, is the Merrick Leisure Centre on any forward plan to see similar capital works carried out on it that have been done to the Ryan Centre? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. I believe the signage is being addressed pretty imminently. Harry, do you want to come back on that one?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Inglis. Yeah, and I too attended a very useful site visit at the Merrick Leisure Centre just pre-Christmas, and absolutely it's all about ensuring that as well as the reactive repairs, there's also proactive maintenance undertaken, and I think the ward members have been receiving periodical updates in terms of the list that was compiled on the back of those site visits, and a status report. I think specifically the external signage, we were simply waiting installation of that from the contractor, and I've actually requested the site manager to circulate a photograph to ward members when that's completed. We've also asked Property and Architectural Services to look at the need for forward planning. So members will be aware that we had an issue very recently within the fitness suite, which thankfully got resolved. But what that does indicate is the importance of planned preventative maintenance and servicing, etc. And absolutely, as has been done at the Ryan Leisure Centre, we have requested a programme to be built into the forward capital plan to ensure that we don't wait for an issue to arise, but that it's resolved proactively. And I think investment in our leisure and sport facilities is absolutely important, because there's so many benefits obviously from having these facilities available for our wider communities to come in and enjoy, health benefits, mental health benefits, as well as physical benefits, etc. So absolutely, the leisure facilities are something we want to maintain to a very high standard. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Harry. Councillor McCarman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. First of all, I think it's important to recognise how we are at the Merrick Centre and the Ryan Centre as a region, particularly both being in the West. I went along for a visit to Beverly and all the staff in my role as Vice Chair of the Community Committee. And the work, I'm not going to repeat everything that everyone said, but the work that has been done there has been phenomenal. And Harry, you and I have spoken about it before. The cosmetic side of things, I think we need to be careful that we're not erring on the side of personal opinion. have we had any feedback from customers that it's a problem, first of all, in terms of urgency to address it? I know that it might be great to get it looking fantastic, considering the amount of money that we have spent in it, but we need to be realistic in terms of resource and money, as we all know. So Harry, can you find out if we've had any feedback from customers in terms of, I know that the upgrades that have been done both in the background and within the changing facility has been, to my knowledge, nothing but positive. But if you can gather some feedback, or do we gather feedback in terms of customers going forward, that would be great. But I just want to put on record my thanks to, like others have done, Beverly, and consider that she's managing both sites, Merrick and Rhinestone, the work that she has done from way early last year, and just kept on rolling, if you like. So yeah, that's just my opinion. And secondly, Harry, the work has gone on behind the scenes. We have, as we know, a board up with all the pictures on as you go into the Rhine Centre. Have we been able to get that onto a digital graphic at all to share online, for example? Get better at sharing good news stories. Can't just on all the negatives on this conversation, but this is actually a good news story, and the facility is reopened and it's back to how it should be, and it's important that we maintain that and also do the cosmetic side of things. But is there any way that we can digitalise that whole, you know, before and after in terms of the back end stuff? Because, you know, there was a lot of money spent on that, and people need to know just how much and what work's been done. So if we can, not, you know, if it's going to be a big issue, then no, let's pursue it. But if we can get that onto a digital graphic to share online specifically, that would be great, so that everyone can appreciate how much work's gone into it. Thanks.
Harry, do you want to come back?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No, absolutely. I think it's important that we do promote success stories and investments. So I'll be quite happy to work with the leisure team and comms to almost get some kind of before and after images that demonstrate the investment that's been made. In terms of customer feedback, yeah, absolutely. We have received some very, very positive customer feedback, but as has been commented earlier on in the meeting, we certainly don't rest on our laurels in terms of there's not still work to do. Of course there is, and we'll sort other issues in conjunction with other services as quickly as possible, but certainly staff have received a number of really good comments, positive feedback from customers. Have to say, both in terms of the improvements that have came about as investment, but also in terms of the way that the services in conjunction with Stranraer Academy worked to provide temporary arrangements. That was very, very well received, because the other option would have simply have been to close the facilities at the Rye Centre, and there wouldn't have been any provision in Stranraer for the duration. So that was very much down to the commitment and focus of our staff, and indeed the head teacher and staff at Stranraer Academy were really, really supportive of that as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you. It's a wider question, and Harry, you may not be able to answer this, but I'll ask it anyway. There was significant refund monies from HMRC in terms of VAT and leisure costs. Now, I appreciate that money went back into the centre rather than to leisure centres, and to maybe pay for some of the much needed upgrades, including even Muggers there, bring it back to that conversation. But now that decision has been made, and we now don't pay VAT on those costs or those admission charges, does the service keep the VAT money within that, or does it just simply not get paid out? What is the ongoing implications of that situation, if you're able to just maybe update? Thank you.
Harry?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, my understanding, Councillor Hagman, is that the Finance Procurement Transformation Committee made the position that the VAT implications will go into general council budgets, and therefore the specific income codes and targets that relate to where that VAT was previously accrued from have been adjusted to accommodate that, which in essence means that the VAT is being looked at as a council as a whole, as opposed to simply one service within the council, and clearly that gets considered as part of the overall balanced budget of the council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Harry. Are you happy with that, Katie?
Yeah, no, I am. It's perhaps something we maybe need to look to the future, especially if we're wanting to invest in our leisure services throughout the region, but appreciate that decisions were taken to FPT several months ago on that. I think it was possibly September, but yeah, it's more the future provision of that I'm interested in, but thank you.
Thanks. If there are no other... Oh, Councillor Dashford.
Thank you, Chair. There's no information in this part of the report on public toilets. I'm just wondering if we could have sort of maybe an update, either verbally or circulated, about the current situation in Wigtownshire with public toilets. I know that some were undergoing upgrade programmes and such, and the ones at Port Logan are currently closed. I did an EMES about that this week and was told that the septic tank would be replaced this year by the Council's architectural services team. So I'm just wondering, could you speak to that, Harry, about the current situation with all the toilets in Wigtownshire? Thanks.
Harry?
Thank you, Chair. That particular part of the service actually sits with roads and infrastructure, which I think is next on your agenda, but certainly happy to ensure that whatever information is required is asked of the appropriate colleague. Thanks, Councillor Dashburn.
Thanks.
Thanks, Harry. Any other members' questions? No. Nobody online. If I can just highlight one issue that's a real bugbear for me. The doors into the Merrick Leisure Centre, Harry, are a nightmare. The metal post that holds the push button, you know, the accessible button to get in the door, is flopping all over the place. If you've got a few pounds spare, maybe you could have a look at that and get that sorted out. Thanks. Okay, members, if we have no other questions, we'll move on to the recommendations, and thank Harry for coming along and answering your questions and comments. So, recommendations. The first recommendation is review the 2023-24 6-month summary performance for the Wigtown area for the 1st April 2023 to the 30th of September 2023, as set out in paragraphs 4.3 and 4.4 and the appendix. 2. Consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report, paragraph 4.5.1 to 4.5.8. And 3. Consider any aspects of per committee. It will be of interest to members that this report has gone outside the reporting period to provide members with up-to-date information. It's pleasing to see the progress on the changing rooms toilet for the inclusive play park in Newton Stewart and the publication of the Loch Ryan revision order. This seems to have been going on for a long time, and it will be good to bring it to resolution. Stephen Hall, Interim Head of Roads and Infrastructure, is available online to answer any questions for members. So I'll open the floor. Sorry? Sorry, James. James McLeod's here to answer questions. So I'll open the floor to members for questions and comments. Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. No, it's just a comment, really, and James won't be surprised to hear me just say thank you to the team within the harbours for the harbour revision order at Strimjar. I think it's really important that this work gets completed. So it's just to note that as a comment rather than a question as such. but my thanks to the team for finally getting this submitted. And I'm assuming that we'll get an update at Harbours Committee as to the response from Transport Scotland. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hagman. Any other questions or comments? No one online? No. Goodness me. Getting off lightly, James.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming along. So we'll move to recommendations. So members are asked to, 1, review the 2023-24 6-month summary performance for the Wigtown area, 1st April 2023 to 30th September 23, as set out in paragraphs 4.3 and 4.4 and appendix. 2, consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report. And 3, consider any aspects of performance to be referred to the Relevant Services Committee. Are we happy to agree the recommendations? Thank you. We move on to item 8. Item 8 is the 6-month assessment, 1st of April 23 to 30th of September 23, of Governance and Assurance Service Plan 23-24. Report by Head of Governance and Assurance. Item number 8 on our agenda is the half-year report, April to September 2023. Assessment of Governance and Assurance Plan. The plan contains no performance measures specific to the Wigtown area. Key features are around the update to licensing board arrangements, which are on track, and the establishment of a port health unit, which is on hold. Members may also be interested in noting the region-wide work on polling stations, places, and the refresh to corporate resilience arrangements. Vlad Valente, Head of Governance and Assurance, is available to answer member questions. It is Vlad. And I'll open the floor to members' comments and questions. Anybody online? No comments, no questions? Councillor Hill.
Yeah, it was just for a bit more information about the health unit that's on hold. There isn't any information in the report, so it was just a bit more clarity on what this part health unit is, please.
Yes, thank you through yourself, convener or chair, should I say. In terms of your question, Councillor Hill, yeah, is the border control post, and that is obviously subject to a UK and Scottish Government decision in terms of whether there should be a border control at Cairnryan and the various ports within that. The issue around that is purely for the UK Government and Scottish Government to decide whether they should have one. At this point in time, the indication is that there won't be one, and that's obviously to not impede the free movement of goods and services from Northern Ireland into mainland UK. So at the moment, we're in the hands of the decision makers, as I said, both in terms of UK Parliament and the Scottish Parliament for making that decision, but we can't progress anything until such time as we get that clarity. We would only be involved on certain levels, and particularly just now in terms of governance and assurance, we've been involved in terms of environmental health and trading standards and the various checks that we would do for any goods or services obviously that are coming through the port.
Thanks, Vlad. Councillor Hill.
Yeah, do we have any sort of timescales on that, Vlad, please?
No, sorry. Yeah, so this is completely out with our gift, and we have absolutely no timescales on that at all.
Thanks, Vlad. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. So in the report before us, there's a number of projects referenced, and again, just to put my thank to the teams that have been giving us updates as Award 1 and 2 locality update. I think those have been really useful. Within the report, though, on page 77, it makes reference to Glen Bay Hotel at Glenluce, and that it's not been successful. I'm just... Oh, my apologies.
You're just one ahead.
I'm one ahead. I will come back. There's a preempt for the next one. Thank you. Okay. Apologies.
That's all right. Okay. Have we any other questions from members? Any other comments? Councillor Hill, you might come back in.
Yeah, thank you. Can I just say thank you to the staff for the review of the polling stations. The seminar that I attended as the only councillor that was there was very, very informative and was really good to get the information. So just a thank you to the staff for that, for putting those on. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, members, we'll move on to the recommendations if there's no other quick comments or questions. Vlad, thanks for attending and answering any questions. Thank you. So, recommendation 1, review the 2023-24 6-month summary performance for the Wigtown area for 1st of April 23 to 30th of September 2023 as set out in paragraphs 4.3 and 4.4 and the appendix. 2, consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report, paragraph 4.5.1 to 4.5.3. And 3, consider any aspects of performance to be referred to the Relevant Services Committee. Members, are you happy to agree the recommendations? Thank you. We'll move on to item 9. Item 9 is the 6-month assessment, 1st of April to the 30th of September 2023 of the Economy and Development Service Plan 23-24. Report by Director of Economy and Resources. Our next report is a half-year report, April to September 2023 from Economy and Development. A great deal of detail here that members will be very interested in. The Stranraer Marine Expansion Project and the community engagement around this work. It is really good to see improved engagement with our local communities and staff across the council working together on this. The Place Plan and the Borderlands work, the George Hotel work and creative placemaking. Whithorn Way Infrastructure Project, the Borderlands Place Plans and emerging local place plans, along with much else besides. I'm sure members will have questions and comments, so I'll open the floor for members' questions and comments. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. Take 2 on this one. Yeah, there's a lot in the report, and I guess it's maybe a governance question as to why within the Economy and Resources Directorate we've only got 1 report, but across the communities we had all these separate reports. But that's maybe a question we can follow up out with committee. But yes, my question was in regards to the Glen Bay Hotel in Glenluce. I believe a number of elected members have been asked by constituents in Glenluce as to what's happening. Wheatley Group haven't been able to give an update other than to say that they're considering it. You know, the community are really clear that they want to see a development going forward within this site. So is there any update on how we can best support the community, best support Wheatley Group to find a solution to this one? So that was my first question. And my second question, while I've got the floor, if I may, was around core paths. Now, there's reference to the core path maintenance and the Dumfries and Galloway core coastal path. At Economy and Resources, it was agreed that there would be a review of the core path network. And I'm just wondering, do we have any indication of what that might look like? I appreciate it was devolved to the Outdoor Access Forum. However, at one of my community council meetings, there was a member from the Outdoor Access Forum, and this was brand new information to them that they were taking forward that piece of work. And certainly I'm still waiting, again, years later, for the minutes from the Outdoor Access Forum to be uploaded onto the council website, because I'm slightly concerned that we've agreed for an organisation to take forward a piece of work, but it would appear some members of that organisation are completely unaware of that process. So it's maybe just to ask for a bit of clarity around that while we're discussing core paths. Thank you.
Thanks. Jamie or Ross, would you like to come in on that?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so just unfortunately, in terms of core paths, Simon Fieldhouse has not been able to join us today. He's otherwise engaged. Pick that one up with Simon and come back with a response in regards to core paths, and also that request for the minutes to be added to the council website for the Outdoor Access Forum. In terms of the Glen Bay Hotel and the Glenluce project, yeah, obviously I understand the disappointment that this one has not been able to progress. As I'm sure members will be aware, the site has now been cleared of the former derelict hotel. And the hope had been that we would be able to access additional funding through the Vacant and Derelict Land Investment Plan, which is administered by the Scottish Government. Unfortunately, that was turned down at stage 1 this year, and we are hoping that a further round of funding may come forward in the next financial year that we can apply to. There's still some additional clarity required from that following the Scottish budget announcement, because awards for this financial year have not been made, and the timeline for that was to be January. So we're still waiting to hear exactly whether or not the Vacant Derelict Land Investment Plan is going to be available for us to apply to. The council has put Town Centre Living Fund allocation into this project to try and support those works. But as you'll understand, with a project of this nature and of this scale, it's quite costly project to look at taking forward. We do engage very regularly with Wheatley. All the projects contained in the Strategic Housing Investment Plan, I know they are actively considering how best to take this forward, but we will need to try and identify some additional funding from another source to make this one happen at this time.
Thanks, Jamie. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you. No, I appreciate the update. My request would be, in terms of that one, can we add that to the list of updates that go to the Ward 1 and 2 Economic Development, just if there are developments, that we could just be kept abreast of those? Thank you.
Thanks. I believe Wheatley Group are looking to tidy the site up to try and make it look a wee bit more presentable for the time being. I've got Willie, Councillor Scobie.
Yeah, Chair. Referring to page 74 in terms of the George Hotel, and it's pleasing to note that work is progressing, but what is pleasing to note is that people can now start to see it. The barriers have been taken down. There's work to reinforce the front or rather the front and side of the building, and people can see progress. But there was to be display board, an almost video to be put up in the customer centre of the library, and there was reference to the Stranraer Customer Centre in the previous report, which is a way of letting the people know just exactly what progress is being made, and they can see it visually. Could I ask if that is moving forward, and if we could have a timeline as to when that would be made available to the people of Stranraer, so that they can see, because you kind of see what's going on behind the wall. And while I make reference to what can be seen, we want to see that progress is being made by the biggest stakeholders, and being the people of Stranraer, although it will have benefit for the whole of the region and Wigtownshire as well. Could I also make reference, and again pleasing to note, under the car scheme under page 79, 4.5142 there, with reference to the arches, that one is well on its way, and we're starting to see the return of the curved window that was part, I believe, of Historic Scotland, a legacy and so forth. So it's pleasing to see that, and that we're tidying up that part of Stranraer. The only other question I would ask, and we have at full council considered the Dumfries Town Board. In Stranraer we've got a town team, but there's no representation on that in comparison to the Dumfries Town Board. There is no representation on that town team by the council. Now, by comparison, if it's appropriate to have 2 members on the Dumfries Town Board, then I would say that it's appropriate to have members on the town team, because we are at the heart of anything that's going on, and we should maintain that as a council. So I would ask that we look at that in terms of the town plan. I'm not trying to muscle in on anything here. I'm just saying that if it's good enough for Dumfries, then it should be good enough for Stranraer in terms of, and indeed anywhere else. that we look at that in terms of representation on that town team, so that we are fully aware of what's going on as an area committee. That's me, Chair.
Thanks, Willie. Yeah, who wants to come in on that one? Jamie?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'll let Ross talk on the car scheme and the Arches project, but just in terms of the George Hotel display and the town team elements, the questions there. Unfortunately, Stuart McMillan has not been able to join us today as well, but I'll take those back and again come back with a response for committee.
Thank you. Ross?
Yes, the two cars projects in the town are coming on well. I believe the scaffolding at the Arches is due to come down this week. Gillespie's has been delayed for another few weeks due to the condition of the roof, but it's coming along fine.
Thanks, Ross. Councillor Dashford.
Thank you. Yeah, just to touch on that point, I think since I've been a councillor, amongst all the construction projects that have been going on, it seems to be more common for them to have delays than to not have delays. And that obviously has consequences for road closures being prolonged and such. I'm just wondering, you know, where there are delays in construction projects and road closures, what levers does the council have to ensure that construction companies actually, you know, do the job within faster timeframes and such, so we don't need to keep closing these roads and closing these roads. Thank you.
Anybody want to come back on that one?
Well, especially with historic buildings, you really don't know what condition the building's going to be in until you open it up. You know, in the case of we're talking sake a 200-year-old building that hasn't seen any maintenance for 50 years, you just don't know what you're going to get. I mean, thankfully the road at Gillespie's isn't closed anyway, but it's just one of those things you have to take as you find, unfortunately.
I'm just wondering then if we're maybe being a bit optimistic when we do set dates, you know, for estimated completion. I know that the museum was kept back for a significant amount of time, those repair works. Just food for thought, really. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dashford. Anyone else get any comments or questions? Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's just in relation to page 77 and the Corsby Road Wheatley development. Obviously, I know this is a historic report, but I wondered if Jamie could update us at all where we are with that. Are we still waiting on the completion of the Scottish Water report or appraisals, or can you add anything else to that? Thank you.
Jamie?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Marsh. So in terms of the Corsby Road development, this one's progressing well through the planning process, and as you'd be aware, this is one that will need to go through a committee process. The latest update we have had is that all the information that is required has now been provided and submitted to the Council for full consideration. And we're obviously aiming at getting this one in front of members at the Planning Application Committee as swiftly as possible. So that's certainly the latest update we have. So I would expect to see that on the agenda at the committee very soon.
Thank you, Jamie. Do we have any other? Councillor Scomey?
Just a couple, Chair, and a note in terms of the developments on 4.5.8.4. The various, some that are moving forward, some that have been unsuccessful at planning stage. But there's no reference to the Springbank development there. I just wonder what stage that's at, Jamie, in Stranraer. Some 80-odd houses there. And the other one I would make reference to is 4.5.13, Stanctuary Project Black Stank. And again, we have moved forward on the flood prevention scheme in Stranraer, thankfully, eventually, but this will have benefit to the Stanctuary project, but it refers there to will be completed early in 2024. are we referring there just to the flood prevention works or the whole project? Just where are we at with that? Because that is an exciting project.
Jamie or Ross, you want to come back on those?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'll come in on those. Just in terms of statutory projects, apologies, there's nobody here to talk to that one. I will again come back with a response for committee on that point. In terms of Springbank, as Councillor Scribby mentioned, the project is not yet included within the Strategic Housing Investment Plan. It's not been submitted by Wheatley Home South for consideration through the Economy and Resources Committee. It is obviously a site that is of interest, given that it's a local development plan allocated site, and there are opportunities within that area to look at development, but it's early stages in terms of appraisals, and the most appropriate opportunity that will be put in front of Economy and Resources Committee for consideration to be included in the Strategic Housing Investment Plan.
Thanks, Jamie. Councillor Hill.
Jamie.
Thank you. Yeah, just to say that Stranraer Museum is looking absolutely brilliant now. You know, so great improvement, great work done there. On the Garrick Hospital site that Councillor Scobie brought up there, it's targeted for completion at June 24. Is that still on track? Just for a definite ask for that. And then Crosby Road, I was just wondering, if we go ahead with the 75 homes there, do we have the school provision in place? That was just a question I wanted to ask on that one. It's maybe for the Education Authority, but whilst we're talking about that here, I just wanted to ask that. Thanks.
Jamie?
Yeah, thanks. So in terms of the Garrick Hospital, the site, the completion date is June 24. We met with Loblin Housing Association just a fortnight ago to discuss all their projects, and that is one that is looking like it's progressing relatively well now, so that the June 24 is still our anticipated completion date there. In terms of Crosby Road, the education provision, it's obviously something that we've the benefit of delivering those family homes next to the school there. And my understanding is that there is capacity within the area, but I need to absolutely clarify that and have a look at the consultation response and come back to you on that one.
Councillor Hill, you want to come back?
Yeah, no, that'd be great if you could come back to all of the councillors at the area committee with an update on that. That'd be fantastic. Thanks.
Okay, any other members' questions or comments? Okay, thanks, Jamie. Thank you, Ross. We'll move to recommendations. Members are asked to 1. Review the 6-month summary of performance for the Wigtown area for 1st April 23 to 30 September 2023 as set in paragraph 4.3 and the appendix. 2. Consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report, paragraph 4.1 to 4.5.14. And 3. Consider any aspects of performance to be referred to the relevant services committee. Are members happy to agree the recommendations? Okay. Is that lunch that's arrived? Do you want to continue or yeah, do you want to just keep going and then we'll, right, okay, that's fine, because I've got to leave for 1 o'clock anyway. So we'll move to item 10. You can have my soup, Willie. Wigtown Area Committee Discretionary Budget Monitoring Report by Interim Head of Community Services. The next report, members, is a monitoring report on the 50+ projects receiving support from the Wigtown Area Discretionary Budget. It's good to see that the budget continues to provide significant impact for our local communities, and members will note the significant impact in their wards and the wider area. Members will also note that there is a sum of £1,600 which the report is recommending to carry forward to the Discretionary Grants Fund for 24-25. Ingrid Gemmell, Ward Manager, is here to answer members' questions and comments, so I'll open the floor to members for questions and comments. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so I mean, obviously it's a historical report and much is just for noting on this one. I'm just wondering how much, I can't, apologies if it's in here, but I don't think there was a full drawdown of all the Christmas lights money. And is there a list of who didn't draw that down? Is that in the report? Apologies if I've missed it. I think perhaps, you know, we can have the dialogue and the decisions going forward at our next area committee as to how discretionary grants is taken forward for future. So I won't go into that at this point. But yeah, how much wasn't drawn down, and where we've got monitoring reports, is there any monitoring reports that are missing? Again, I wouldn't want there to be an onerous burden on individual communities when there's just such small amounts of money. Appreciating those small amounts of money are really important to some. So yeah, are there monitoring reports missing, and is there any amounts that weren't drawn down? Thank you.
Ingrid.
Yep, thank you, Chair. So I can confirm that 2 communities did not pull down or draw down, sorry, their community Christmas decorations and events, and that was Sorby, who should have had £300, and then there was Garliston, who would also have had £300. We also had Creetown Heritage Museum, who were allocated £1,000, but come back to us to say that they didn't require it this year. So that makes your total of 1,600 that the report's asking you to carry forward for the next year. And in terms of missing monitoring information, I'm very pleased to say that we have everything in this year timely, so I won't need to bring a report back in May.
Thanks, Ingrid. Katie, you want to come back?
Yeah, no, thank you. I was aware of the Christmas light issue, and I know that the ward officer had tried to engage with community groups to ensure that that funding wasn't lost. I wasn't aware about the Creetown Heritage Museum, and I would just ask, was an attempt made to support them, because I know that they're just a number of volunteers who give up their time essentially, and I'm really surprised that they didn't have use for that funding, especially with the cost of living and utilities and just all the additional costs that individuals and groups are faced with. So was there support offered to that group?
Sorry, Ingrid.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can reassure members that obviously there was dialogue with the group and that we did try to support them, but they were very clear that they didn't need the money on this occasion. So hopefully that we can have future dialogue with them and maybe support them in the future again. But
Thanks, Ingrid. Thanks, Katie. Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Das.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, page 112, I'll draw your attention to there. It's about the application from the Kirkmaiden Information Centre for their museum project. If you look at the second paragraph, they said that they've got a problem with damp in the building, which is the responsibility of the council to fix. I was contacted by them as recently as this week saying they haven't had any communication back from the council in regards to this problem with the building. So I'm assuming this has been going on for 6 months, if not longer now. I would just raise that so we can get that actioned and fixed. It's great us giving them money for projects, but if they can't use that money until the council takes action, then it's a bit of a messy situation to be in. But if we could get that fixed for the people in Drumore, that would be great. Thank you.
Ingrid?
yeah, I'm sure that will be noted as an action for colleagues in property estates and programmes to pick up. Thank you.
Thanks, Ingrid.
Yeah, Chair, I'm looking at page 87, 3.2 at the Communities Committee. So 4 members agree the strategic framework, and then, you know, us being the civic leadership role. And I've been at a community council when there's been questions asked in terms of where we've been granting specific funds, money, whatever. And it's really just to seek an assurance. And I know we've raised issues in terms of the scoring panel and the recognition that we give to the scoring panel and all that they do when they're scoring. But it's really to seek clarification that we do look at groups' constitutions and that they are bona fide and you know, that the money is being dispersed in an appropriate way. I know Ingrid will move, yeah, we do that, but we need to have that total clarification so that if there ever is a question asked of members, why did you give X when you know, there could be some questions to be asked in terms of following that public bound.
Want to come back on that?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Yep, so I can give members reassurance that there is a system in place that's managed by our grants team, and they ensure that every single thing that we require in terms of the conditions the grant offer are in place. They're all checked before any award is made to those groups, so I can give absolute assurances that that happens.
Thank you. Any other members' questions? Okay, we'll move to the recommendations. So, members are asked to note the performance monitoring information from projects and initiatives that receive support from the Wigtown Area Committee discretionary budget in 2023-24, detailed in the appendix. 2, note that a significant number of citizens have benefited from the delivery of 50 local projects, initiatives, and over £61,086 has been invested in projects, initiatives in the local Wigtown area. And 3, agree to carry forward the remaining balance of £1,600 from the 2023-24 discretionary budget to the 24-25 budget as outlined in paragraphs 4.6. Members happy to agree the recommendations? Thank you. Move to item 11, outside bodies annual review 2023, report by Head of Governance Assurance. Next report is a review of outside bodies, and members are asked to consider whether any current organisations and appointments should be removed from the scheme of outside bodies as a result of the information contained within the appendix. Those members with direct involvement in the outside bodies will possibly have the most relevant comments and observations. I'll take any member's comments on each of the organisations listed. Those are Macker's Action. Chrissy.
Yeah, it says here that the number of times that the body has met over the last year is 1. That's incorrect. It meets every month, and myself, our councillor Ingalls, or both of us do try and attend every month. So that actually needs changing in the report, please. Thanks.
Thank you. Newton Stewart Museum, I can inform everybody that I sit on that and I go to whatever meetings I can go to, so I'm quite happy to remain on that. Coronation Day Centre in Stranraer.
Thank you. Yeah, they meet every 2 months or so thereabouts. I've been to about 4 or 5 meetings a year, not the one that's listed. I was there yesterday, actually. I'm happy to champion those intergenerational links. They've actually had some problems with funding. They're really, really concerned at the minute about cuts being made, and because the funding for day centres is split between 9 different day centres across the region, and there's been a reduction in proportional funding, and they're concerned that they may have to cancel their Meals on Wheels service, which could lead to the future shutting of the day centre itself, they believe. So I've EMES'd it, and I hope to get a good response in this week as soon as possible. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Dashford. Wigtown Bay Nature Reserve. I'm on that one, and I think I've attended 2 meetings in the last 5 years. Seldom get notification of when those meetings are coming forward, so I don't know whether that's something that we need to review. I'm happy to stay on it, and if notification comes through it, I'm quite happy to go. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. I think I would be happy to support keeping this going. Appreciate that. I think they've had quite a lot of difficulties in getting a chair, but it's a national designation within Wigtown, and it is actually a really important one. And I know that there's been a change of staffing within that. So if we could perhaps even get that as coming back as an additional update, because there is statutory issues along there, because it's a designated wild wildlife area. I'm not sure of the details of that, but I appreciate, I think it was Anna Johnson used to lead on that one. Anna Johnson's no longer with the council, is my understanding. So actually just getting an update of who the link officer is with this now and what statutory duties we have as a council is important. But I would support keeping it on if obviously yourself as the member is happy, as and when you're contacted. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Wigtown Educational Trust. Again, we've met today and I'm quite happy to keep that going. I think everybody's okay with that. Thank you. Yeah, Tracy, I noticed you're there to answer any questions. So the only point that's come out of that one is really the contact with the Wigtown Bay Nature Reserve. That we don't seem to receive any information from it all now. So I don't know whether we can follow that up.
Yes, Chair, I'll certainly take that up with the link officer and ask them to reach out to the members on that one.
That's lovely. Thanks, Tracy. I appreciate you coming along. So can we move to recommendation, members? There's nobody else wanting to speak. Okay, members are asked to note the activities undertaken by each outside body since appointments were made in 2022, where representation has remained stable for 12 months. And 2, agree whether any of the appointments should continue following review of whether any outside body should be removed from the scheme of outside bodies. So, happy to agree? Happy to agree that we remain as. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Move on to item 12, Wigtown Area Committee appointment to outside bodies, report by Head of Governance and Assurance. Next report, members, fairly straightforward to agree to appoint one member to the Furniture Project Stranraer. Members on the 6th September 2023 agreed to appoint Councillor Scobie to the Furniture Project, Councillor Chrissy Hill being appointed as substitute member. Following the meeting, Councillor Scobie declined this appointment. Therefore, members are asked to appoint one elected member to the Furniture Project Stranraer Limited, or amend the appointment to Councillor Chrissy Hill being the main member with or without a substitute nominated. Tracy Sonk is here to answer any questions or comments. So, Councillor Hill.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a bit surprised that we're being asked to change me to the main member when it states on the Connect page under my councillor reference that I am the main member without it being previously agreed. So that could really do with being amending unless we do agree that today, please.
Okay. So, Councillor Hagman.
I think I appreciate what Councillor Hill has just said there. I think it would be important to hear, would Councillor Hill like to be the main member going forward? If, you know, before we look to amend things, I wouldn't ever assume that someone would want to take forward a position without getting their confirmation first.
Councillor Hill.
Yeah, hi. I mean, I do sit on about 33 committees at the moment, and so I do have a lot of work to do, and I've looked at the meeting ratio and the meet on a Thursday morning, which is a big committee day. If nobody else is going to put the hand up and do it, which I'm looking in a room and I can't see anybody doing that, I'm prepared to go along to the meeting so that I can support Stranraer Furniture Project because it is my ward, but it's really disappointing that other members of the ward are not wanting to come forward, you know, and help out if they're not going to. So I'm hoping that I'm not going to be disappointed today and somebody else will come forward and possibly share those meetings on a bi-monthly basis because, you know, these people work really hard in our communities to provide a service and they do need supporting by the council. So I think it's within our remit to all have an input into supporting them. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Hill. Councillor Scobie.
Yeah, Chair, I spoke earlier in the report on an item on the issue of the community reuse shop. And, you know, to me, I've maintained this throughout, the rules are back to front in that if you're a member of an outside body and they're being considered, you're the one that has to leave and you're the one with the most information. It's one of these standard commission's rules that's never been changed. So in that respect, I totally support and I would not want to, so that's the reason for that. I understand where Chris is coming from, and but if I'm pleased to hear that she's prepared to take it on. It's that rule that would affect, that concerns me.
Councillor Dashwood.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to leave the previous meeting early, so I wasn't present for when we decided on nominations to the furniture project. And I've just been reading that their original application, and you know they say that they requested Councillor Scobie, who's obviously declined it. Do they want another councillor if they can't get their main choice?
Don't know.
Should we ask them?
Councillor.
Yeah, I have been approached and they have asked me if I will be on it. And I did ask if it would impact on any decisions if they were applying for funding or if they were applying for anything. And I was given context that it wouldn't affect, because I was just sat on it as an outside body, it wouldn't affect me taking part in any decision making. So if I can have that from governance in the public meeting, that it wouldn't affect any decision making that I would want to take part in if I sat in it as an outside body, because that was my main concern, and I did ask that. So if we can just have that clarity, because I think that was Councillor Scobie's issue for being on it, that he couldn't make a vote if it came to vote at full council or to planning, which I sit on. So if we could get some clarity on that, because there seems to be a few mixed messages. I've been told it wouldn't be an issue and Councillor Scobie is saying it would be an issue. So if we could get clarity on that, that'd be great. Thanks.
Tracy, are you able to help with that? I'll come to you just in a second. Oh, right, okay, well, Councillor Hagman, in you come.
It's just really to get that confirmation. Nick Evans sent the updated Code of Conduct, and it's really clear in the Code of Conduct that where a member is appointed to an outside body and appointed by the council to that outside body, it doesn't consist of a conflict of interest, which was news to me, and I don't think that's ever been made really clear by governance. But I appreciate Tracy's on the call, but I wanted to just ask that question before bringing Tracy in. And if that is the case, it would be really helpful if we could get that from Vlad, Nick or Tracy, really explicit, so therefore we don't at the start of every meeting have to go, is it a statement of connection? Is it a note of interest? My understanding is the Standards Commission is really clear on that point, but I'll pass over to Officer.
Tracy, can you help?
Thanks, Chair. I was going to actually defer to Claire as the governance officer for your meeting today, but I have got guidance that I will circulate to members that on the code of conduct which we've been circulated from the Standards Commission on this matter, so that members have got it in black and white, and I can circulate that after the meeting.
Thanks, Tracy. Claire, do you want to come in?
I was going to say that the information you have in the report does say that the position is an advisory one to support it rather than a trustee. But like all matters with conflicts of interest and codes of conduct, it's up to the individual member themselves to determine how they feel if they're personally conflicted. The guidance from the Standards Commission that you don't have to declare, but obviously Councillor Scobie feels different.
Councillor Scobie.
Yeah, I hear what Claire's saying, but it's the public perception that is important, you know, and it needs to be totally clear. There needs to be total clarification. That's why, you know, because I recognise the work of the furniture project, which is now the community reuse shop. I totally support what they're doing. And hence I would not want to find myself having to exclude myself, and that's the reason, you know, it's that public perception that you've got an association with that body, any outside body, and it's interesting what Katie's saying in the guidance, but we need to be totally clear as to what it is actually saying.
Councillor Hill.
Yeah, no, I'm the same, and I went back and I did ask that question, and I was told, you know, what Nick had said, that you wouldn't play a part, you wouldn't need to offer the statement of connection because you could still vote on it and make decisions. So I still don't think that we're very clear today. I know Tracy said that she'll send the information around after the meeting, but it's really now that we need the full information to make this decision on who's going to sit on it and whether it should be a Ward 1 representative or it should be possibly a Ward 2 representative that doesn't have as much impact on the ward. I don't know. Without the full information, I don't know how we can make a decision.
Okay. Tracy and Claire, is there any way you can give us complete clarity on this? The likelihood is we're not going to be able to make this decision today then, if that's what you're looking for. We'll need to defer this.
Chair, it would be the same in anybody. You know, and we need clarity because I hear, and again I'll repeat, I hear what Claire's saying, and for Tracy to provide us with information. It's that clarity in terms of public perception and association, and that's why we make at the beginning connections or interest. You know, and you know, it could go by an area committee. It's if anyone is ever challenged on it that you've taken a decision that could affect, you know, any future plan.
Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate. I think we do need to make a decision. Would be my preference. I mean, I've got the code of conduct and I can read it out. Paragraph 146 states, as stated at paragraph 5.4c of the Code, membership of an outside body you have been appointed to by the Council as its representative would not normally be a connection. Such outside bodies can include statutory bodies such as regional transport partnerships and health and social care integration joint boards, joint committees such as City of Region Deals and Scotland Excel, ALIOs and voluntary organisations. That's the wording. I think the concern is it says not normally, and I think the point of perception is one that remains with the individual. Interestingly, it does actually go on to the next paragraph to talk about it does not apply where matters are being discussed by the Council at one of its committees or subcommittees if you're a member of a quasi-judicial or regulatory in nature. And my concern about the Wigtown area B is that it's potentially that might be a concern going forward. So my suggestion would be that we do appoint today, but that further clarity is sought. And if members feel that they wish to withdraw once that clarity is sought, then we at that point bring it back to committee. But we at least try and move it forward today, would be my suggestion.
Are members happy to appoint today?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that the group, you know, are asking for an advisor. They are needing some assistance. So I am happy, as it's been put on my council remit that I'm the member in any case, even though I haven't been appointed yet. I'm happy to take that, but I would like somebody to share it with me. So I'm asking for volunteers of anybody that will share the meetings with me, please.
Councillor Dashwood.
Yeah, I've been listening very closely to what's been said. I'm struggling. We've just approved various outside bodies, Coronation Day Centre, Mackers and such, you know. If we're reaching a stumbling block with the furniture project, do we need to apply that logic to the ones that we've just agreed as well? So, you know, if we're saying, oh, we can't apply to the furniture project right now because we feel conflicts of interest and such, well, we've just assigned councillors to outside bodies 2 minutes ago. So from a sort of governance angle, wouldn't we have to go back on what we've just agreed?
I think we've agreed to a point.
Right, okay. Matters of the Councillor's Code of Conduct is always up for the councillor to determine whether to declare a statement of connection, a declaration of interest on anything, taking the provisions of that code. For this one here, you're not a trustee as such, so you wouldn't be seen really as the decision maker. You're there as an advisor. So, but again, taking on board Councillor Scobie's opinion on whether, you know, it is all about perception. It's about your individual perception and whether you deem to declare a statement of connection at the start of any committee or in any matter. But clearly there are provisions within the Code of Conduct that stop you declaring an interest whereby you've been appointed to an outside body on behalf of the council. You're not there on this one as a trustee, so therefore as a decision maker. So if the furniture project was, say, applying for funding for the council, it wouldn't be an automatic for you to need to leave the room, but you might feel that you would have to leave the room because you're there as an advisor. Hope that helps.
So, yeah. I think it's down to the individual, pretty much. Sorry, Councillor Hebb.
Chair, just for the record, because I think we are looking for people, my capacity is such that I'm not available for that. So I'll rule myself out. I'm out in Dragon's Den style. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got Councillor Hill who's prepared to share it with somebody, if somebody else. Councillor Dashford.
Just for clarity, I'm a former employee of the furniture project, so I don't think it would be appropriate for me either.
Okay. Anyone else prepared to volunteer? Anybody online prepared to volunteer? Doesn't appear to be, Councillor Hill.
Yeah, can I just have it noted, my disappointment in the other councillors that are around the table and in the meeting, that nobody could actually share it due to commitments or whatever. I will follow it through because I feel that the group needs somebody there, but I do want my disappointment put on record, please.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Hill. Councillor Scobie.
Yeah, I've intimated, and I still see it as a public perception, I still see it, and we've had the advice from officers, and we'll get it clarified. So I've stated my reasons, and it would be, if there was an issue before us to do with the community reuse shop, that I would want to remain in the room and participate. So that's my reason, and I'll live with Chris's disappointment, so I will.
Okay, members, we're at a position where Councillor Hill has agreed to take that post. So, we'll move to the recommendations. Members are asked to agree to appoint one member to the Furniture Projects and are limited as detailed in section 4 in the appendix, and we have done that. Everybody happy to agree that? So, item 13, any other business deemed urgent by the chairman? I don't have any other business that I deem urgent, so the meeting is closed. Thank you for your attendance.